Welcome to the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a show that is a central hub and safe space for authors to share their stories. The Bold Book with Dr. Denise begins now.
Welcome back to the Bold Book of the Day podcast. My name is Dr. Denise Nicholson, and this podcast is for anyone looking for inspiration. Today's show, we are going to have a really great conversation with Mr. Faust Ruggiero. He has been in the counseling business for 35 years, and he's going to give us a little bit about his experience with healing and treating veterans and first responders. Please welcome Faust Ruggiero to the stage.
Denise, thanks for asking me. It's a pleasure to be spending time with you today.
Oh, thank you so much. You're such a gentleman, and I appreciate your patience. Let's start at the beginning. You have been counseling veterans for over 35 years. Oh my goodness. What was the moment early in your career that made you realize that this is what you want to do? This is the kind of work that you want to do and the kind of service that you want to contribute to our world?
You know, I've been counseling people for a long time. It's actually over 4 decades. It's some people, it's a job. It's a career for a lot of people. For me, it was a calling. I knew from the beginning. I was a kid. I was going to do this kind of thing. I had that kind of feeling. So I just, went through all the motions. All the education, did all the things that people do to get into the field, and then in 1980, I started counseling people. So my first veteran was around 1990, and the story was fascinating but heartbreaking, and and they just kept on coming. Once someone feels good about what you do, then they keep on coming. So it's been that long, and it was time to get the message out on a larger scale.
So explain to our audience, what is PTSD?
Well, I think you start from what is trauma.
Yes.
That's really where it's going to begin. Someone is traumatized. It could be a physical assault. It could be something they saw. It could be the war, a first responder. It could be child abuse when you're a kid. When it develops into PTSD, for whatever reason, with some people, they just don't reset from the trauma. So something happens, and instead of being able to work through it, and after a reasonable period of time, kind of reset back to a norm, they don't, and they start experiencing flashbacks and memories of it. They isolate, they avoid, they get angry, they do anything they can to get away from these feelings. That's where PTSD comes in. That's where life changes and relationships change. It's just an inability to reset, and the mind just keeps replaying, and the body gets tense, and emotions run rampant. The intellect gets overrun, and people just can't focus anymore.
And that's from the inability to reset.
That's right.
Now,
Yeah.
what if you live in an environment where there is constant trauma? How do you reset?
And people do, and then you typically you don't. Sometimes it's the same thing repeating. It may be an abusive family cycle, or the place you live is just a difficult place to live. For some people, it's experiencing one trauma that they never got over, then experiencing more, 2 or 3 more later. Those folks have a real difficult time. That's where PTSD comes in, but it's very treatable. We have so many people doing good work with PTSD now, but that's one of the complex PTSD is what you're describing. It doesn't let go, and we keep on. It just repeats, and you can't. You never get a break from it.
Is there another name for it if you are living in that constant trauma, or is it still post-traumatic stress disorder?
It's still post-traumatic stress disorder. There are different kinds. The one you're describing is what in the field is referred to as complex. It keeps on
okay.
for many people. Many different traumas are experienced by the person.
Now, is it harder for people who are experiencing complex trauma to heal and reset as we were just describing it,
Oh,
or
yes.
is it so it's harder for those people as opposed to
Sure,
those
because
people?
two things are happening. Either new traumas are being experienced, or the same trauma is experienced.
Hmm.
So, when we talk about resetting, it's usually the trauma ends, and then the body and the mind and the emotions get a chance to kind of reset and get back to a norm. Either the person can do it alone or with some help. But when the trauma continues, example, I work a lot with abused women, and unless I and other people can help them get out of that environment, they continue to be abused. So the PTSD is there, but the trauma is repetitive, so it never stops. So now trying to treat all the flashbacks and the high anxiety and all those kinds of things gets very difficult because they're in the environment. Yeah, so always in those situations we want to stop the trauma. In that case,
Right.
get these people out of the environment that's difficult for them, then we can start treating the PTSD.
So for someone who has never experienced PTSD, you certainly, well, for someone who hasn't experienced it for themselves, and you how do you fully understand how to deal with so many different types of trauma, and for example complex post-traumatic stress disorder?
Well, that's one of the key questions. And we say that people will ask, how do I deal with this? And the first answer I give them is not alone. You're going
Mm.
to need help, particularly if you're stuck in it over and over again. But we've got to stop the trauma. So when people come to me, I'm gonna go historical first. I'm gonna get the whole story of their life, and I go pretty deep in when I do those things, and we want to stop the trauma, and sometimes we can do that quickly, and sometimes the person's going to fight us on that, particularly in relationship issues and kids and all those kinds of things. But we want to stop the trauma first. Then we want to start. I teach people how it developed from trauma to PTSD. Just as I
Ah.
was saying to you, you're not resetting. And I'll ask them, what are you thinking about? What are your thoughts like? Are you angry? Are you isolating? Um, are you staying away from any type of situation that might trigger some things? Let's talk about what you're thinking, what you're feeling. I want to know what their body's doing, because in a situation when your body is hyped up all the time, you're on guard. When you have PTSD, you're on guard. You're doing everything you can not to re-experience that problem. So I'm going to get into all this stuff with them and then teach them. This is how it developed. This is where you are. This is where we're going to go.
Wow. So I I really appreciate that you have decided that this is the group, that veterans were the group of people that you are going to focus on. And that's because veterans don't get as much appreciation for the sacrifice they make for us and our country. And so I really appreciate that you've dedicated so many years. You just didn't decide to do it once. You decided that you're going to dedicate your service in your life 40 years. Come on. That is really impressive, and I'm so glad that you decided that this is the group of people that you were going to help. Now, in doing so, um, how how has that impact your life, listening and helping them for such a long time?
I mentioned earlier it's a calling. So I think my person, if you will, but my intellect, my emotions, the way I love people, and I have still a deep love for the people I work with, and everyone for that matter. I think you have to have all of that, because if you don't, it will pull at you and it starts to break you. Um, but the key for me has always to treat people one person at a time. So I want to hear their individual story.
Yes.
I don't want to treat them like some, cliche item or some template or something. Well, how do we treat all the people with PTSD? My answer has always been, I go one at a time. So I'm going to do that.
Mm.
Then we bond. And that's the answer to your question. We bond. And that bonding, it becomes very fulfilling on each end. I'm helping them to get through some serious life situations. On the other hand, they're giving me the ability to love them. So I'm in a position always to feel good about what we're doing. And that's why it doesn't burn me out, because the love never
Yeah.
stops.
Oh, I love that. They are giving you the ability to love them.
Yeah.
I love that. So now I'm thinking about your book. And not only did you decide to dedicate the service of counseling to this group, this very special group, you also decided that you were going to write a book and share about healing this group of people. But then you did something really special, and you wrote a dedication on top of what you've done. You've written a dedication just directly to this audience. And, you wrote it for those whose lives were forever changed by their service. What does it mean to you personally to dedicate this book to that group?
That's a wonderful question. I don't know how many people will ask it, but to me, it was my way to say, hey, I love you, I love all of you.
Mm.
To say it not just in a counseling room with one person, to put it out there. I think there are times when we have to bring ourselves outside of ourselves. Take a risk, get out there and emotionally unwrap yourself and say, okay, this is who you are. I love you all. And veterans, first responders, these are people that do what most of us don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to, when I did this, the book was written, and I said, I need to take a step. This has got to go a step farther. These people have to know that there's a personal message here. And, when you can do that and you really mean it, I mean, then people look and they say, you know what? He's taking a step other people haven't taken. For me, I go back to when I was a teenager, in my 20s. The Vietnam War was on, and those folks came back, and they were just crucified.
Mm.
Tough time in the nation. No one liked the war. A lot of anti-war protests, and they came back, and they were just vilified. And that was, if anything said to me, at that point, I need to do something with these people. Okay, they went to war when no one wanted them to be there and didn't like that whole concept. But are we going to punish the people who were laying their lives down and came back beaten and broken? I just couldn't
Yeah.
see.
How did you build that kind of trust with the veteran community that it's often misunderstood by civilians?
Again, we're back to that one-on-one thing. When someone is talking to you and they
Mm-hmm.
have your undivided attention, and you're asking questions, and you're saying, you're getting into that, and they look and they say, he is really interested in what I have to say. It's not a game. He's not just, I didn't go there and here's the money, doc, and I'm out of here. He really, there's eye contact the whole time. If their eyes are welling up, I can feel mine going with it. There's a bond, there's a connection going on there. When you can establish that rapport, that connection, that's when people say, okay, I'm home. I can do
Yeah.
this.
Okay, so it's always a journey that you go. You plan to meet them where they are, listen to them, and then follow them on the journey that they take you, and then you take them on a journey yourself.
And it's you said that so nicely. If I'm willing to jump on with them, with their journey, and I'm willing to say, yeah, I want to be part of this with you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Reciprocity begins. They say, okay, well, I'll take a few risks here, and I'll come on the journey with you, because the journey is really all about getting them to where they need to go.
Tell me about the title of your book, because it's Fix Your PTSD Handbook.
Yeah, it is part of a series. I have 7 books I've written, and they're all it's the Fix Yourself Empowerment series. So,
Uh-huh.
there's books like Fix Your Depression Handbook, Fix Your Anxiety Handbook, those types. So when it came down to number 7, it was the Fix Your uh, PTSD Handbook. They're all written with the same design. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm, I write the books very much the way I counsel. I'm not one of these people that just likes to say, oh, that's wonderful. Well, and then next week, they come back and they don't know where they left off. I'm dynamic in my approach, but I'm very action oriented. If you come and you're counseling with me, I'm going to say, we're doing this. Go home this week. Let's do this based on what we said. Let's do this, and we'll check it next week. I do that when I write. At the end of all my chapters, there are action steps based on the information in the chapter. Do this, these exact things. If you're willing
Yeah.
to do that, it's going to start moving you on that journey. The
Yeah.
journey, it's great to have a journey, but you have to have action steps to make it happen.
Yeah. Now, even the word fix, I feel like it's intentional because some people have been told that PTSD is really not something that can be fixed. So it sounds like the word fix is, as a part of the title, is intentional. Was it intentional, or you just wanted it to, you know, to be easy to remember?
No, when I wrote the first book, which was the Fix Yourself Handbook, the publishers were saying we need to get the word "fix" out because people don't like saying that they're broken. And I said, we have to stop coddling people, and we have to stop not going to the source of the issue. Some parts of all of us need to be fixed. That's okay. That doesn't mean we're broken. It means
Right.
parts of our lives maybe aren't where they need to be. So let's fix that.
You're right.
That's all. So I apply that to every book. I also want people to know that these are fixable situations. You don't need to go through your entire life in pain. There are solutions. You just have to be willing to work with someone and stay committed. You'll get there.
Yeah. What is the most common misconception that people have about post traumatic stress disorder?
You just said the first one. It can't be fixed. That is such a misconception.
Hmm.
More difficult with some people, but it's always finding that little spark, that little place where the person's going to respond. That's all it is. And the
Yeah.
techniques that are being used today are really, really working. And we're seeing success rates that we've never seen before. But people are also stepping out of the old framework. Where a veteran, for example, would say, "No one understands me. They don't want to know this. They may not want to know if I shot people or something, that kind of thing." But now so they would only talk to other veterans. Well, it's just like spinning the loop over and over again. So now they're saying, all right, there are people that are listening, and there are people that have solutions. And when you have a success story, particularly with veterans, they take that back to veterans groups. They take that back to the Veterans Administration, whoever's helping. They say, "Wait, that person over there, I don't know how he did it but I'm feeling better. I'm
Yeah.
feeling talk. I have a place to go, a safe place." That's really all you're establishing. Once it's safe, people are going to work.
Tell us about one of those interventions that you've used on your clients that you think we can use outside of being in with sitting down with a counselor.
Well, for me, I start from the beginning, and people always say, "What technique do you use?" And I say, "No, my technique is my connection with the person. Then I'll start looking at the various therapies that are available." But to say that I'm going to use, this, something behavioral with this person over here who's very much, in their own head and overthinking things, that may not work. Once
Okay.
I, you know, now I tell them we're going to go 2 or 3 weeks before we really get into something that you can do. I may give you some little things to do in the meantime, but I want to get to the point that when you walk in here, I got you. I know what this is all about. I know where you are. I feel it. I think it. I can emote with you. I want to know all that first. That's important. I want to put a foundation under you that's good, that we can build on. And then we can go into all the various therapeutic approaches. But what worked for this one may not work for you. So
Right.
to give a canned presentation is just really dangerous therapy.
I asked that because I read an article that said that when people who were going through post-traumatic stress disorder had a chance to start retelling a story about what they're feeling or their feelings about the trauma that they experienced, they start to get different neurons that reconnects them. And so it doesn't just, what happens is they start to see the story differently as they are telling the story. And I don't know if this is something that you've heard or practiced, just
Absolutely.
storytelling.
Any of us who work with PTSD are going to do that, but it's when we do it. That's the key.
So
If you attempt to introduce it before the person is ready, it's not going to give any positive neurological movement. It's going to start the whole process over for them, and they'll run away from it. They're very good at letting us know when they're ready. In the book, I do a story about a veteran in there, and it's and I split it up into like 6 different chapters. So as the therapy is progressing, then I'm reintroducing the story again, so you're actually seeing this person go through the therapy and breaking into the whole therapeutic picture from the very beginning when his wife sees what's going on with you. You're pulling away, you're isolating, you're not taking care of responsibilities, and gets him in with a psychologist who knows what he's doing. And I take them through that entire journey to get to the point that he's now saying, I got this. I really want to work with this. It's all doable, but it's doable at the right times, in the right amounts. And we also have to understand that when we work with PTSD, they're going to tell that story. And when they do, they're going to regress a bit because they're facing things they chose not to or could not face for years. So we're going to regression. So we have to go back there and have a net under them, so to speak, so that when they regress, they don't think that they're coming apart and it didn't work, that all that's happening is now you're willing to face this, but you're not doing it alone. I always tell my catchphrase, I got you. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, because it's just like, when you're entering a room and you open a door and you didn't expect something and you kind of startle and step back a little bit. So is that the same thing? You're starting to look at things that you didn't expect to see in a certain way. You kind of step back, but like you said, you're there walking the person through it, and they know, they can hear, I got you.
Right. I'm here. You're not alone.
You're not alone.
And that's gold for them.
Yeah, you're not alone. Wow.
I mean, if you ask 9 out of 10 veterans who haven't been through any type of program, what was it like? You will get no answers. They will back up, and everyone knows that. They won't talk about their service time because it's so painful. The PTSD is there. They're going to relive things. We want to get them to a point where, not that they have to keep telling the story, just that they can face it on their own.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to take them back to a happy place they were before they went into the service. What we're doing is creating new happy places.
Yes.
And we're building the story so that it can exist as they move forward in their life, but it doesn't bury them anymore.
Walk us through what the, Fix Your PTSD Handbook actually gives the reader, and what can someone who picks it up do today that could begin to shift something for them?
When I wrote the book, just as we started talking, I started with trauma. Okay, we're not just going to go into PTSD. Anyone who would attempt uh, to do that would really be missing the key component. So we're going to three or four. The first three or four chapters are about trauma and what it does and what it does inside you and how it breaks you, and that difficulty resetting. So I'm gonna and I want people to understand that that's okay. Just because your friend or your brother or whoever could reset, your difficulty doing so is okay. That's you, and we're going to take you through that. I want them
Yeah.
to understand that part of it. It may develop into PTSD. If it does, now we're going to start to define that PTSD. That's what I do with them, and I present the various types and all the various routes that people get into this, and how it develops. So I want them to now understand PTSD. That so we have trauma, the bridge from trauma to PTSD, what PTSD is like. Now we're going to start talking about all the various kinds and how it affects people. And then we're going to, and at the end, I give them a roadmap. Okay, not a roadmap to get rid of it, a roadmap to start getting help. And I run them through all the stages. There's 6 stages that they're going to go through in that when they start getting help, and so that they understand. All right, this happened, and I went backward a bit, or I experienced this. He said that in the book. That's what I want them to do, so that to understand, so they're not afraid to get into counseling, that they can contact someone and be willing to go in and tell the story. And if we prepare people and say, here, this is what you have. It's normal. PTS is not who you are. PTSD, it's not who you are. It's what you have. It's a
Yes.
condition you have. So, I want to break that identity. That's the other part that what the book is designed to do. Get that part out of your head, that this is who you are. It will never change. You'll always be this way, and life can never feel good anymore. Absolutely not. That's not the way it is. But again, and the last piece is what I said to you before. I want them to understand that there are those of us who are out there who love them and want them to feel good. It's not only what I want for them; it's what I want for me. I want to feel that part of the journey with you. So I'm going to feel the trauma in the beginning, but I want to feel the love at the end. I want to feel that good. When the lights go on, I want to feel that with you.
Your dedication in your book mentions legislation.
Mhm.
How is the are paving the way for laws that further treatment for veterans? What does the landscape of PTSD treatment look like right now, and what would you like it to look like for in the future?
The landscape now is coming into its own. We now are becoming very skilled at dealing with this, not just with veterans, because
Mhm.
everyone gets traumatized. Anyone can have PTSD.
Yeah.
So now that we the techniques are there, and the counseling is there, and we're breaking through some of the ideas about what this was. I think the first part of legislation has to be to provide monies for education about what trauma and PTSD are, so
Mhm.
people can understand what to do and then how to get counseling.
Yes.
We just don't do that, particularly for veterans. When it's not that the Veterans Administration and all these other organizations don't care about veterans. They're just stretched so thin, and the funding is just not there. Well, I want to raise awareness. Let people know it's there. Let's get all the information out so we understand trauma and its progression to PTSD, and we have some avenues for therapeutic intervention that can be successful.
How do you deal with all these years of heaviness? What's your story?
It's not heaviness to me.
Mm.
When someone comes in my office, symbolically, if you will, I'm already wrapping my arms around them.
Mm.
It is, depending on how you look at life. I'm a person of faith. It's my Lord's way of wrapping me around other people. The gift back for me is far more that maybe that they're going to get. I don't know. But I look forward to all the people that I see. I miss them when I don't see them, and I love being with them. And it's nothing. There's nothing like walking in town somewhere, or in a store, whatever, and someone comes up and you know taps you and gives you a hug and says, "Remember me?" And sometimes I'll forget the names, but I won't forget the person. And I'll
Mhm.
do, and then they'll say, "Really?" And I say, "Yeah, you were the one that," and I give them their story, and they say, "But I saw you 20 years ago." I say, "Yeah, but I didn't forget you."
Wow. So if there's a veteran or a first responder that is listening right now, someone who's never even asked for help, and they have been carrying a burden, they've been carrying something all by themselves. What is one thing that you want them to hear from you directly today?
That they are loved, that
Mm-hmm.
they're worthy of the change. That is huge, because this knocks you down. It just blows you up from the inside, and you feel like you're worthless. There's nothing good about you. Understand that you are worthy. You are a gift to the world. You just haven't understood why and how that's supposed to work. I want them to know that. And when they come in my office, that I'm telling them that, but I'm putting that out there. Uh, you know, no one gets well in counseling if they don't believe they're worth the time. And I think they really need to know it's not just a job. We care.
What is your story? What was it like for you to grow up as a child? And what is a significant, something significant that you can remember that you think led you to where you are today as a counselor?
For me,
Mm-hmm.
Italian family, a very loving family. And when I was 9, my father had a major stroke, which you know wiped out his ability to work. 4 kids, my mother having to go back to work, um, and I think something that clicked at that point was that even with all the hardship and four kids to raise and work and do all these things, if I said, "Mom, something's bothering me," she says, "Okay, let's talk about it."
Mm.
And she was burdened with all the things that she wasn't a single mom. My dad was there, but
Yeah.
not really as functional as we would love. There was a lot of uh, neurological damage from the stroke. So that ability to listen, I got it from someone else first. I got it from a very loving person who was willing to say, "You know what, I'm here." And she couldn't do it all the time, but most of the time, And I got good about seeing when she could, and I did. And I'm I was a pretty low maintenance kid. I think I wasn't the type that I was very introspective. So I'm a problem solver. So a lot of her in me. So I think that's another part. As you go forward, you take the love of the people who gave it to you forward, and you pass it along.
So she validated, your mother took the time to validate you, to make you see that I see you and I hear you. And if you have something concerning you, let's talk about it.
And that's what I can bring into every counseling session. You got
That's
something
beautiful.
going on, and it doesn't matter what you say. I'll never judge you on anything that you say or have done. It's all good. None of us come into this world perfect, and we sure don't leave it that way. So you have your things that maybe you say, That's not so proud of that." I said,
Mm.
"Welcome to the club." Another thing I tell them is, "Would you really want me to counsel you if I had the perfect life? How in the world
Mm.
would I connect with you?"
Right. Yes, that part. I really appreciate you saying that because a lot of times we go into situations and you need some counseling, but you're looking at them like they've never been in this kind of situation. How can I believe and trust them? So I like that you established that I have been through some things, and that's probably why I can listen and help you through this post traumatic stress disorder.
It's such a nice place to be when the person who is helping you says, "Yeah, I'm an open book too, and you want some questions? Yes, you need to know how I
Yeah.
got that. Or, sure, you want to know some things about me? Sure, why not? Um, again, I bond with you because humanity says that we're not perfect, but in our own way, we're all beautiful, wonderful people. And if you take some time to look beyond, I did this or I experienced this, there's a genuine soul in there.
Absolutely.
That's what connects. That's what you want to connect to.
And thank you for sharing a bit of your story with us. I appreciate that.
Well, my pleasure.
Tell us where we can get the book.
The best place to find anything about me or the books is my website, which is my name, faustruggiero.com. I actually put excerpts from all my books there, so you can go in and see, you know, 5 or 6 pages and say, okay, is this the kind of book I think I might want to buy, and everything about me and any questions you have, probably answer there. And I have a contact link there, and I do get back to people.
That's right. Now, before you go, I have 3 questions that I like to ask all of my guests. So, what's a bold promise that you can share with the audience?
For me, a bold promise would be that I will continue to do what I'm doing until I'm unable to do that anymore. And I will love everyone that I touch as I'm doing that.
And that's a big deal. What's a bold statement that you can share that may cause a paradigm shift?
You know what? I go back to what I said before. And I think, I've been saying this and I'm seeing some shifts here and there when I say it, is that you have to connect and love every person you meet, one person at a time, and get away from the stereotypes and get away from the anger and all the misdirection that's happening. The way to go through life is to connect with one. You meet someone, you talk, you say hello, you connect with that person, you smile, you give them love. If we all did that, God, everything would
What
change
a world we would live in.
about
I feel like the world would, the fuel to function very well and healthy and holistically is love.
it. It is. People look at that as an emotion.
Hmm.
I look at love, to me, comes from the soul. That
Yes.
nothing can be unconditional. We can't think unconditionally. We're not. Brain isn't set that way. Our emotions are definitely not unconditional. The soul is where it's at. So you got to go deep inside yourself and be willing to give the next person the same thing you want. Your soul wants.
Yes.
It's very simple concept.
What is a bold move that you would like to make in the future?
Uh, for me, we're actually starting to do that. We're taking the PTSD and we're creating a documentary. The
Bold. Yeah.
story is all set. All the um, production things are set. We're now shopping it to see if we can get those the buyers that come in and say, yeah, we want to do this with you. It is a book about PTSD. It's about a friend of mine who was in Las Vegas when the shootings occurred 5 or 6 years ago at the hotel, and 70 or some people were killed. He was running in for 2 or 3 hours, pulling people out, pulling bodies out, pulling people that were shot out. He didn't realize how traumatized he was becoming. He experienced PTSD,
Mm.
lost much of himself, got the help, came back from it, and is now, working across the country speaking about what you can do with PTSD. So we're going to try to see if we can't introduce that documentary and further the information that we're putting out in the book.
What a great contribution you've made to the world with your service and with this book. Faust, I really thank you, not just for this conversation, but for your 35 years of showing up. Well, over 40 years of showing up for just people who showed up for all of us in different ways, either veterans or first responders. And Fix Your PTSD is available now, guys. Please go out there and get it, because this is how we show our appreciation for the work that he's done, for the service that Faust Ruggiero has given to our veterans and our first responders. And so go out there. You've heard it, where the website is. Say it again once more, Faust.
My name, FaustRuggiero.com.
That's it, FaustRuggiero.com. And if you know a veteran or a first responder or just a family member or a friend who's living with the weight of trauma, this is the book that you gift them. It is worth it. It is worth giving. We will definitely be placing the links. And so if you have any questions, you can always ask, but go out there and support. We really appreciate you and just having this wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for showing up for us.
It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
And to our Bold Book of the Day community, thank you for listening. Thank you for caring. And remember, every bold author starts with one decision to share their story, the story that's important to you. If you have an idea to write a book, but you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or you just don't know where to start, please send us an email or visit us at boldpublishings.com. Thank you so much for joining. And thank you again for showing up for us, for our community, and for our veterans.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a central hub and a safe space for authors to share their stories. Follow Dr. Denise on Facebook and Instagram at Denise Nicholson, or go to denisenicholson.com. Remember, no one can share your story better than you.